So Pete is actually here in person, which is really exciting. I was actually playing the game last weekend or the weekend before. When did it come out?
Last weekend.
Last
weekends ago.
2 weekends ago. So I was actually playing the game, and I wanted to do a Let's Play, but I thought it would be really cool to actually, since I know Pete, to have him here. And then today we were talking, and he was talking about doing something similar anyway, so that we decided to join forces and create awesome. So what I wanted to do was I just kind of wanted to, like, as I play a game, I can't help but thinking about the design because I'm a game designer myself. And I've been thinking a lot lately, especially about how I'm going to introduce players to mechanics in Duskers. And actually, hey, can you guys hear me all right? Let me know if the music in the game or any of the levels are completely off. But yeah, so I started playing the game, and it was really cool, and I really was geeking out in my head about all the things that you kind of did well, that, like, I feel like I did a decent job in A Virus Named Tom, but I have to start back at ground zero with Duskers and, like, go through the whole process of taking the player into the game and stuff like that. Yeah. So I thought it'd be really cool and useful, and I'll actually probably post this on YouTube afterwards. This is verbal indication that it's okay, so I can't get sued. So anyway.
You have my permission to monetize.
Excellent.
Footage of my face.
Yes. With all my ads, all my YouTube ads. So if you guys have questions throughout, just post them, and then we'll try to address them. But in the meantime, I kind of wanted to get into the game. So the first thing I noticed as soon as it came up, right, is that you have these. Can they see my mouse?
The window's out of focus.
Can they see my mouse? They can't see my mouse. Okay. So you can see how the window's kind of out of focus. But you can see on the right, you immediately have long-term goals, right?
Yes.
You're immediately presenting me with semi-extrinsic rewards that are long-term goals for me, right?
Yes.
And this is something that's really interesting because in A Virus Named Tom, which I think is much more in tune with Cannon Brawl as opposed to Duskers, stuff like that seemed like a good idea. Like, I think that in Duskers right now, because the game is so atmospheric and because the game is so, I'm trying to keep you in a fiction, I'm really worried about anything outside of that fiction. But in a game that's arcadey, where you want people to be excited and have, like, a longer term goal, I think that's interesting.
Yes.
So what was your thought behind that?
Why did we add these is the question?
Why did you put these right on the front menu?
So originally they were, originally they kind of mimicked the way Hearthstone does it, which is they present you only with the quests and then they go away. Then it's the menu. Originally it was that way, so you didn't see these all the time, unless you suck them out.
Right.
But anyway, their main purpose is to give you some goals that are outside of the normal gameplay, and then help you work towards some extra unlockable metagame stuff, which we have in the armory, if you want to show that. So,
under armory.
So if you complete those quests, you'll get new quests, and you'll get enough XP points to unlock this stuff. So that's what that all tied into.
Right, and that's kind of cool. That's interesting because I'm playing around with Duskers right now with, like, persistence of things across plays and unlocking different things, and so you can kind of immediately see this. I also really like, and I'm a big fan of games that work well with the gamepad, and this works super well with the gamepad, and I know this sounds kind of silly, but everything is pretty clean and clear right here, like not 1,000 options, not a million different things to do. I also really like how when I played the game at first, when I went in and out, like, there was no question as to, like, where my save game was or what slot I was using or anything like that. So let's start.
Let's begin.
Let's actually play the game. First, imagine a great kingdom. I do like the kind of smarminess in some of the, and I'm going to say smarmy, in some of the writing, which I really kind of like because you're.
So disclaimer here: I am not a writer.
Right.
However, I did write all of the words. So.
You wrote all of the words?
Just about all of them.
That's pretty cool because I think it's kind of fun. I think it's cool because I think what you want is
does the job.
You want a story. You want something. The same thing with A Virus Named Tom. In A Virus Named Tom, you can just go through and do all the levels, but I kind of want an atmosphere, and I wanted to give the player something to do. So it was like destroy a future utopia, and you were like save your father's kingdom.
Yeah.
With the female protagonist.
The
very
took 2 weeks after that.
yes. Okay, so I'm gonna jump into it. Okay, so just to talk a little bit about the game audio level should go a bit lower. Okay, hold
Push
on.
escape. Settings. Oh, that's too low.
All right, so I'm gonna turn off the music, I guess.
Yeah, turn off.
I'll just turn off the music, and then that will
Turn
probably
the sound effects down a little bit.
just a little bit. Okay. All right, let us know if the game sound effects are too loud. So right off the bat, something that I'm always interested in with games is how much do you force them, and how much do you not force them to learn, right?
Depends on the game and what
It does. So I believe you got a lot of leeway here with, like, you can be a little bit more explicit just in time stuff like Holly and I talk about. So here it's like, okay, you've given us the goal, and I really like here how you don't say anything, because you move the left analog stick, and then as soon as I don't move the left analog stick for a little while, you pop up like, hey idiot, move the left analog stick.
Yeah.
And I think I just undid it.
Yeah, you just
But
skip that.
if you guys missed it, then like if you don't move the left analog stick, he will pop up after a few seconds like, hey, move the left analog stick. But I know that I'm in a game and I'm gonna move it around, right? And I get to break out of things. And so then all of a sudden, it's like, okay, over here, the A to dock is really cool because instead of taking my eye off of what I'm doing and like giving me direction, you're gonna have that same thing every time I go into this throughout the game. And so you'd rather just draw attention to that exact thing so that I learn that.
Yep.
And the focus is really there and nowhere else on the screen, which is really cool.
Put the button where you're looking.
Right, exactly. And then I do like here how immediately it's like, pick a mining camp, and you don't automatically highlight it for me because when I play the game, I'm going to have to hit right to get over to it. So you're already telling me.
So we teach you how to use this menu. We also show you that this is a thing that's going to exist, but you can't afford yet. So there's going to be money in this game.
Yeah, and
this also hints at what you're going to be doing next. So
yeah.
So then you do it.
Right, exactly. So I've got my mining camp, and then I've got to build it over here. So here, we're using the arrow, and not only using the arrow, but making it move so that it draws attention, right? And then we're going to plop this bad boy down. And all of a sudden, we've got our mining camp, and it produces gold. And we know that.
And we explain territory.
Right, so territory, so this is something that you guys need to explain because
We need to explain everything.
You need to explain everything in the game, but this is something that I feel like, all right, like placing this up, putting this down to get a mining camp, that's something, but like intrinsically the fact that I own territory right now is not just something that I would innately know.
Yeah, it's not an obvious thing. It doesn't map to any real world examples that you might have.
Right.
It's kind of more abstract. So we have to be really explicit.
Right.
Also, this game was made with my own engine written in C# and XNA.
Right. And XNA, right?
And XNA.
Yeah. All right, so now, what did it say? It probably said to build the territory balloon. And so this is where you're explaining this. I also like how you have explicit places for the territory balloon that you can place. Was that something you guys changed?
It used to be you could put it
anywhere in the
inside,
spheres,
but
right?
it was a little too finicky, and there's really only a few places that you really want to be putting it.
Right.
Like
I feel like when I was placing it, if it was analog, I would like that, but then I would start like noodling exactly where it was because I'd be like, can I get that base in? But now because it's explicit, I know that this mine is within this, and then I can hit A.
Exactly.
And I think the game is really about like hitting buttons really fast, so I think that that's kind of pretty nice.
People were noodling on territory placement, and that's not the most interesting decision to be making. So
right.
Got rid of that.
So initially you're just teaching people like how to build their economy basically. Yeah. And I also do like, and I know this is, something that I've seen in a lot of games, but when the money comes down and then goes and draws the eye right up to the left-hand corner where the money is, and there's an animation there, like that's really nice because a lot of times like I do want to know where the hell I can keep track of the money from.
Yep.
Sometimes I want to place balloons to deny enemy mines, but I can't since I'm only allowed to place them on the edges. Do you know what that means?
Like just fly over there and put them deny. Well, then everybody would deny.
Yeah.
And it would be a degenerate case.
That
you
would
still
be like
you still
this.
can deny, which a lot of the pro players end up doing. They'll just build out really fast to the enemy mine and then deny it with a territory balloon.
Right, so I'm guessing I'm supposed to get more territory and build another mine.
So now we make you do it again, but we don't tell you anything anymore. This is like your final practice.
Okay, so now it's like we're not going to explicitly tell you everything to do.
We just told you, we walked you through the first one, halfway walked you through the second one, and now you did the last one on your own.
All right, awesome. So
now we set up the next building.
The drama continues. Okay.
Thing.
So now we get a cannon, which is really exciting in a game called Cannon Brawl.
Yes. So arguably, we should have had the cannon in the first level, and there's a school of thought that says, what's the coolest thing in your game? And in our case, it's flying into buildings and using them, like shooting the cannons. And whatever that is, you should have that happen right away in the game. But we just spent the first level teaching how to mine for gold.
Right.
So part of me wants to kind of redo that level to incorporate the cannon. But in other iterations, we did have the cannon, and it was kind of overwhelming. So, you know,
yeah, that's a tough one because
there's a balance.
The first thing everybody does in the game is going to be build their economy, right? And that's kind of what you're encouraging people to do. Like,
yeah, but it's also not the coolest thing.
It's not.
Like, maybe we should have already set up your economy and had you build a cannon first, and then the next mission be like, okay, cannons are cool, but now, how about the economy?
The only thing I have about that is that, like, and I'm guessing this is why you eventually made the decision that you made, is that you're going to want to get money and then buy things with that money. And when you're buying things with this economy that's pre-built, it's almost like you're rewinding time. But yeah. So, but I can see it both ways.
Yeah. And if we, like, there's a lot of stuff we have to teach. Like, you are an airship, and your airship docks with buildings, and it can build buildings. And so,
right. Yeah, and this
kind of
is
use that first level to teach that. And maybe we could have taught that in something else, like a cutscene explaining you're an airship.
Right.
But yeah, we did what we did.
Yeah. But that's interesting. So, okay, so
next level. Let's keep going.
Okay, let's keep going. So you can read this while I do this.
Balloons can also be placed inside your territory. We just don't show the marker. Yeah.
Okay, so this is something that's interesting. At the beginning, we have a level goal, right? So we have these 3 things that you guys are saying that you can do, right? Now this is something interesting, and I'm going to get a little bit ahead of myself because I've played. But this is something where the first couple levels I play, pretty much unless I'm falling asleep or hitting myself in the head with the controller, I will achieve these things.
Yes.
Right? And that's good, I guess. That gives you like this sense of completion. In A Virus Named Tom, I did something dissimilar from this. The first level, I think, I give you gold. But after that, in order to earn, like, I would have gold, silver, bronze, and gold would always be like you have to almost go back and replay and play better. You know? So why didn't you guys make the decision to make it so that you would earn all of these?
Well, in the beginning, we're teaching you a lot of stuff. You're not being asked to perform
right
at a high level. So the little goals down at the bottom right now are just more of an like we put them there so that you'll learn what they are, and then around mission 6 or 7, it starts getting to the point where you will have to perform to achieve them.
Right.
Just a pacing.
Okay, so now we get to build the cannon. And this is also interesting, is this docking with the cannon, because essentially the airship is like your cursor, right? So you have to teach people that in order to fire this cannon, they actually have to go to it, dock with it, and then fire, which makes sense because you want to aim it, and otherwise you'd be hitting. Did you guys try other things like, different bumpers and all sorts of stuff? You tried everything. Name some things that you tried. Oh, I'd never noticed that.
Dual analog sticks, bumpers. We ended up on this, and so here it's like we teach you got to roll it because some people only do one direction or the other.
Oh right, I saw the analog stick rolling, which I never noticed before.
And we give you a target to shoot really quick.
That's interesting because I was wondering if you could hit balloons later in the game, and I didn't remember.
That's actually why we put that here, is to teach you that you can hit balloons. And it also tells you right where your next objective is, which is that gold deposit, which you earned. Oh, the balloon was there. Well, I'll put my balloon there.
Right.
And then the enemy is attacking, but he really can't hit you at all, actually, in this mission. There's no way to lose this mission.
Which is good, right?
And, yeah, he won't.
Now, at this point, are you just letting me do whatever I want?
At this point, we're teaching you how to play the game. So if you start playing the game badly, or not badly, but if you start playing it in a way you're not supposed to, which is not fun, like some people would put one cannon down, and then if you shoot it.
This one?
Yeah. They'd shoot it, and then they'd just wait, and like You can play Cannon Brawl this way, but it's not very fun. So this level is kind of about teaching you how to play, and we'll pop up a little thing that will tell you.
So what's interesting is that you had me play this cannon here, and I'm realizing I can't do anything with it because I can't upgrade, and
Yes, you can't do anything with that one.
and you can't upgrade yet on this one either.
No,
Right.
just teaching you what you're supposed to do.
Right.
And you already know. You see that little thing that just came up? That was about to tell you to build more cannons.
Right.
Some people just build one and then wait there and be like, "This game's not fun." So then you'd have a little thing down there and be like, "Oh, well, you can win really fast if you build a lot."
Right.
And then even after that, people would build like 2 or 3, but then still just fire one. So then we'd have a third level of thing that was like,
alright.
"Keep those cannons firing. Look how many are ready." But you're such a pro.
Right.
Just skipping right through it.
But I can only fire these two and actually hit the castle.
This castle has an artificially low amount of life.
So that you don't have to sit there and control it all day. Right. Okay, so now we've unlocked the upgrades. So now you're teaching people, all right, you can fire the cannon, and now all of a sudden you can upgrade it. And it is interesting that, like, one thing I would say is that at each level you guys are teaching something new, and then you're unlocking the next thing, right? And then later on in the game, which hopefully we'll get to, you do something where you introduce a new mechanic, you show it being used by the enemy, then you get it.
Yeah.
And I think that's great.
Yeah, we do that right here.
Okay, great. Okay, so he's got a shield.
And then you talk about, you can blast through the shield by upgrading, or we can shoot around it. Most
Right.
people don't do that.
So this is one of those areas that it becomes very, there's a very blurry line, right? Like where, like you just said, I can shoot through your shields or I can shoot around them, right? So it's like you either let the player figure that out or you tell them. And here we're telling them. And you're probably telling them because, like you're saying, like I might assume that when I fire at the shield that I can't get through there, or that like I don't have different strategies. And you watched people play?
Yeah, we playtested this a billion times, and where people made faulty assumptions, we corrected those with the intro text or other things in the level.
Right. It is interesting because I YouTube players are always like, it's hard to like talk and play and stuff like that, and like I'm realizing as I'm trying to talk and play right now, like exactly what they're talking about, because I had like all these really cool succinct points I wanted to make, and now I'm like not
here you got to
remembering.
deal with the shield, and there's really
Right.
only one thing you can do. 'Cause
Right.
There's only two.
So let's say that I wasn't able to upgrade it first, and then I just
a lot
fired.
of people don't even notice upgrading at all.
Oh,
at this point.
even when it's pulsing like
yeah,
that?
they don't even recognize it. They're like, okay, last mission I was shooting, I'm just gonna keep doing that, and they'll just pound on that shield for a while. So
Right.
we have another contextual pop-up that you'll probably see.
Pietro, ladies and gentlemen. Have you, well,
Oh, here it
upgrading my
is.
buildings
You're taking
is
too
great.
long to upgrade.
Oh, so
you
this
should.
is,
You've
right.
got enough money, you better upgrade. And then we tell you what upgrading does, which
Right.
people also didn't know, like upgrading gives them more range.
Right. I think that you do that very clearly with the UI by making those arrows bigger, those green arrows
Yeah,
bigger.
you'll see that too. We had to do everything. That's insane. And then tell me how many you got. So
Right.
then if you upgrade,
So that's really cool because I never saw that before, and it's because I upgraded so quickly. But I do like that, like where you don't, you kind of avoid hand-holding too much, and then if they're not getting it, then you
Yeah.
say, all right, let's get a little bit more explicit.
if you're
right?
doing all the things you're supposed to be doing naturally, then you'll see very few pop-up stuff.
Right.
But if you're not doing anything at all, then you'll see a lot.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's running pretty slow
Whoops.
right now, but yeah.
Good job, Tim.
I blew it. You know, one thing that I do like is that like when I have things set up, because at first, you know, you're trying to set everything up, but then once I aim things the way that I want them to be aimed, I guess I gotta upgrade one more. I will try and shoot your balloon for no good reason. But I like how I can just double tap A
Yeah.
when like all my cannons are in sync, so then you go from one to the other, and you're just like A,
Yeah.
and you're just like firing them off. Actually, that becomes a little bit distracting sometimes because I find that oftentimes I won't readjust my
Yeah, you
cannons.
should
I'll
have,
just be
yeah.
firing, and then I'll realize that there's these giant craters in the middle of nowhere. It is gratifying when you do upgrade, and then you can just launch these things.
So the HQ is that far away, and there's barely any land in there because we want you to have to upgrade to shoot it at all.
Ah, clever. And I noticed that that shield readjusted
Yeah.
after I started bombarding their castle. But that is very clever to make it so that it is far away, so that you have to upgrade.
Because before people would expand all the way across the map. It's like,
Not what we
interesting,
were
but
trying to
not.
tell you. Right.
It's not the most fun thing to do. Okay, so we showed you how the shield works, and now you get to use it.
Right. Okay. And that's really cool because this is kind of like we debated doing this in a virus named Tom, where we were thinking about having like another virus that went through before you, and it was rotating pieces, and then it died because a drone killed it, and then you jump on the board.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. But
Cave Story does this a lot, and it's really awesome. They're like, oh, here's a new hazard that you have no idea what it is, and you'll see something else fall victim to it. And
Right.
you're like, oh, I get it.
exactly.
I don't feel bad.
Yeah. Which is interesting because in some roguelikes, I think people really love that sense of discovery, even though it seems completely cheap. Like I was reading, I was asking
I
people,
don't love it.
right? But I was asking people on Reddit. I was asking them like, what are their favorite roguelike moments? And what was interesting to me and made no sense was that one guy was like, I went to open up a treasure chest and it was a trap and it killed me. And I was like, that sounds like the worst design ever. Like that's
Arbitrary
horrible.
death.
Right. But it was like it was that sense of surprise, and because it's a roguelike and you start over all the time, I guess.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Interesting how different groups. So here we go. We're popping up our progress on these longer term goals. It's interesting that you pop them up and then take them away. I'm guessing because you didn't want to force people to hit a button. But I was playing on my TV screen, which is like really far away. So by the time like I leaned forward like an old man to squint, it was gone.
Yeah, it's not perfect.
No, but that's cool. So all right, here we go. So now,
Now we gotta teach you that buildings can fall down
right.
and that you can destroy the terrain. Because at this point, some people don't know that you can still destroy the terrain.
Right.
And then we also need to tell you to put shields farther out on the map and not right next to your base. So
All through playtesting, right?
yeah, we intentionally place the shield farther out until you shields go
Right.
far
So
out.
this is here right now, so that I can just place it, and it's probably set up in a place that's kind of nice too, right? So I just hit A.
You're like, oh, okay.
It is interesting as things are going on, like the shield with that 20 that's counting down. That basically means that's how long I have till I can refresh it, right?
Yep.
So if they break through it, I've got to wait that long. It took me a little bit because it's sparking, and that almost makes it look like it's being attacked, but it's really generating the shield and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
active. And then,
Well, you can blame my cheesy particle effect scrolls for that confusion.
so now this is really cool because you've told them that it's knocked out. Because in the chaos of the battle, you don't always notice that. So now I'm
People
back
also
up.
don't know that they can.
That they can re-up
Yep.
the shield, right? Which makes sense. That's not something that I would just assume. Another thing, did you have to worry about them? And this is probably something they found just through experimenting, that they fire fine through their own shields.
Yeah, we just left that to experimentation. Gotta go straight for the base. No, first-time players never do what you're doing.
Oh, really?
They always
Try to get
fight
incremental
all
progress.
the way across the map. Yeah.
Right. That kind of makes sense.
The AI on a lot of the campaign maps also adapts based on how good you're doing.
Uh-huh.
So if you kind of push on it really hard, then it will push back a little bit harder.
Ooh. I see they adjusted their shields. Oh, so here.
Yeah, now you're like,
Now it's going on
"Oh,
top of me.
I can destroy the ground. Buildings take damage when they fall. I won't incur damage if something falls on me.
Oh, you don't?
Nope, because
Oh.
that cannon just.
It's fine. I did not know that. Learned something new. Right. So that's what this level is both about teaching the shields and the destructible terrain.
And it's also teaching you kind of like a full playthrough, because the other levels are pretty contrived.
Right.
And this is more of a. I mean, this is a little contrived, but it's more of a full match. Like you build gold, you build your shields,
Right.
you fire, you blow up the headquarter, and you deal with threats. This is one of the first levels where the AI can actually hit you with shots. Actually.
Oh, and actually kill you. So one thing, okay, so so now the new airship. So even this, when you get the new airship,
Position. Thought you could move a building. Oh man, I should change that.
Text them. reposition the.
Oh,
I should say re-aim the shield.
Re-aim the shield instead of reposition. Right.
I'll
Interesting.
put that in the next build update.
Woo! So this is really interesting. Something else, all the little polish that you guys added is really impressive. So now we can pick our pilot because we rescued our uncle.
Your brother.
What?
You rescued your brother.
I rescued my brother, and now I can pick him as a pilot. And so I think what's really cool is that here, instead of defaulting it to her, and then you can move to him, like you're forcing them to choose, right? Right.
Because people would just, some people, not everybody, but some people would just push A real fast and then
Right.
not even
And
understand.
not even understand that they can choose.
what had happened.
Right. However, and then you're showing, you know, other ones that you can unlock, which is cool,
Yeah.
so that you know that, oh, if I keep playing. However, I do think that eventually, do you keep doing that, or do you eventually make it so that it defaults on someone?
No, it always will.
Right, because I
Tell you to
think
pick.
personally, from then on, it should just default to whoever you were last or something like that. And then the same thing with the random guy. You know how it's like flickering? I think that's really cool. But then when you get on it, or no, I don't know. There was something where I was like,
We'll figure it out.
yeah, we'll figure it out. But yeah,
Okay, now we're teaching you about airships are cool and they do powerful things. Also diamonds.
which give you more than gold.
And then he's telling you what he's gonna do, which is really what you want to be doing.
When you get
Because he's like, I'm gonna get to the diamonds real
Right.
fast, and it's like, okay, well that's what I should be doing.
right, yeah, and that's cool. That's like what you were saying, and sometimes the way that you phrase things, you know, you can incur, you know, instead of being like, go get the diamonds real fast, you can, you know, have him say it for you.
Yep.
It is cool that usually the diamonds are encased,
Yep.
so like you kind of have to earn them.
We gotta teach you how to dig. This also reinforces digging, because still some people don't know.
What about, oh, you mean destructible terrain kind of
Yeah.
stuff?
Yeah.
I don't think I can reach it from here.
Maybe. That's true, you can't.
But soon.
Soon you can.
Yay! And so now technically I can build that there. Well, no, I can't.
This very dialogue is to help you with. Kind of reteach the mining a little bit there, because some people like, oh, we dug out the diamonds, and then they fly their airship to it, and then nothing would happen.
Right.
And maybe we could have fixed that in art, made it look like you, because I guess it kind of looks like you can pick them up with your airship. That's what
Oh,
people
rather
think
than like,
sometimes.
but it is a gold pile as well, so it's consistent,
Yeah,
right?
so we did. This was our solution.
Right. So now,
Now he's telling you how he's going to use his airship.
right. Here's a quick question that I never completely got in my play. Can you damage their airship?
No.
Okay. I mean, it makes sense that you couldn't, because then, like, what could they do?
we used to have that in the game.
Oh, really?
You could shoot the airship down. But it ended up having some problems. We took it out.
Yeah, I mean, it seems kind of cool, because then you could reset it, I suppose.
We had it where, like, if you blew up their airship, then it took 5 seconds for it to respawn at their headquarters. So you could, like, blow up their airship and then do some more damage that they
Right.
couldn't do anything about. Which is interesting, but it's kind of more annoying than fun.
Right. Yeah. I had the same thing in a virus named Tom. We had an enemy that just blocked you. And I thought that was really cool because it's all about like being able to move around, but it seemed like it was just annoying. It just got in your way and it didn't add to the level of fun. You know, because there are some bad things that add to the fun and some bad things that just add to the annoyance.
How did you come up with this game? Well, I liked Gunbound a lot.
Which is similar to Worms. And I also liked all real-time strategy games ever. So I thought it would be cool to see what happens if you take 2D destructible terrain and build a real-time strategy game on it. And we got Cannon Brawl.
And you found out.
We found out.
You get Cannon Brawl.
Imagine this just started doing something really weird.
All right, so okay. So one thing that I think is really cool. So now I noticed here that you opened up this weird purple thing.
Yes.
And I'm like, what is that? And all of a sudden, it's a puzzle level. And one of my favorite things I feel at this point when I was playing, I don't know whether I did this first. Which one's this one? This is just like
It's the one where you learn the demolisher.
Okay.
Or
So
the
I'm going to
block.
hop to this puzzle one real quick. So I'm like, okay, I love me some puzzles. So what is this all about? And I actually really loved when they remade Bionic Commando. They had a whole section that was like this little training facility where you were doing tricks with the grappling hook. And when I played Bionic Commando, I pretty much only care about the grappling hook. Like, I want a grappling hook everywhere and just do everything with the grappling hook because I'm a motherfucking Bionic Commando, which basically means you have a grappling hook. So I played those levels all the time because they were like really intense, kind of like do this optimally and stuff like that. So I intrinsically already have like a very good vibe about like puzzle levels, right?
Right.
So here it's like destroy the headquarters in one shot. And what I think is really cool is that I remember way back in the day playing or watching you guys play a game. I was playing against you actually. And maybe because I had a bad shot or maybe I was intending to do this, but I knocked out the ground underneath your castle, even though you were dominating me in the game, and I got this instant win, which very much reminds me of chess, right? Where like,
Oh yeah, surprise.
you're
surprise
dominating,
checkmate.
you're dominating someone, and then all of a sudden they slide back their queen or their rook, and it's like checkmate, and it's like, oh, what? Yeah, and then you pick up the board, you throw it, and you're like, oh yeah. So it had that moment. So what's really cool is that you are kind of going through and explicitly telling everybody everything to do. And here, you're like, hey, here's a little side fun thing that you can do that'll teach you this mechanic rather than us explicitly telling you everything to do, right?
The puzzle levels, were to teach you a little bit more about the game that was a little like you just have to discover, and it was also to break up the pace of the campaign.
Right.
The campaign, especially for new players, tends to be really intense, one level after another.
Right.
And then we have one where there's kind of no pressure.
Mhm.
It's just more of a thinky puzzle.
Yeah.
So that was to break that up.
What I liked about this one, another thing that I liked about this one, I don't know whether you did this on purpose or not. So I immediately placed my cannon
Yes,
here.
we did. In
Okay.
all of the puzzles, I tried to make an obvious solution that didn't work.
But no, this is even better. So you placed this like, red herring here, right?
Yeah.
I placed it here, and then all of a sudden I realized my mistake, right? I'm like, no, I need to put a balloon and then place it here, right?
Yeah.
But instead of punishing me for that, right, you still made it so that when I sell this, and I have to hold it, and there's always a cost when you resell it back. I thought that now I was going to have to start the game over, but you don't. I don't think.
If you get your balloon's the right spot.
I think I might have misplaced that first balloon.
But it's a quick restart, so there's no...
Yeah. But I'm pretty sure that this will work, actually. Because I did this before.
2v2 is an idea you would consider.
We would consider it probably for the sequel.
So see how I made the mistake?
Oh. Damn.
I made the mistake, but it still worked. But now I'm going to have to say that this game is ridiculous. Because that should have worked.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh well. And now I can place it with only 2 balloons. But what I was really impressed with is that like by restarting, it really doesn't help me any. Like, I mean, it's not a big deal to restart, but it was cool that I could make that quick mistake, and as long as I realized it fast enough, I didn't have to restart, which made me happy.
Yeah.
So I guess I need to hit it right there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And that's cool because it's a fun little trick puzzle, and you're teaching people a mechanic without explicitly having another one level.
Teaching again, fall damage.
Yes, exactly. So I guess one of the things that I would say happened to me as I was playing, and actually, all right, let me play this next one. One thing that did happen, like that fatigue did set in, because every time I played, I learned a new thing, and I was getting new things constantly, and it was for a while. And then at one point, there were levels like when you fight the ship and stuff like that, where all of a sudden it's just like, hey, just play the game. And I know that you, like me, you're like, oh, I want to give them all this cool stuff so that they know there's all this really cool stuff, right? But yeah, I did definitely sense that fatigue after a little while.
Yeah.
What? bombs. So he's gonna use the bombs, and I don't have them. And then if I defeat him, I get him. I get the bombs,
Yep.
which is cool because that like makes me feel like Mega Man, and I like feeling like Mega Man at any instance of my life that I can.
So we intentionally put your shield there so you can watch the bomb walk through.
Walk through.
Which is their mechanic. They ignore shields once they've turned into a bomb.
Right. Once they turn into the bomb.
And then you also see that he hit a cliff and didn't do much.
Right, they can't completely climb cliffs. Is what I'm sensing from this game. Upgrade, even though it doesn't matter. Alright, you bastards. You're attacking my stuff.
So on this level we
Whoops.
kind of want to encourage you to be aggressive on the demolisher, so I put a diamond deposit.
Oh, see, I
Underneath
completely forgot about my demolisher.
We also,
And how do you, oh, X.
yeah, there you go. Although we also put a floating island above there, so if you find that the bottom part is too hard to deal with, because some people have a really hard time dealing with demolishers. then you can
Oh,
go-
that poopy face.
Then you can go attack from the top,
Right.
which is a much safer way to attack the demolisher.
I will destruct your terrain. Oh, I lost my mind. These things happen.
Demolishers.
They happen to the best of us. Is that what they're called, demolishers?
No, they're called. We changed the name to bomb bots, but I still call them demolishers because it's a habit.
Break yourself of that habit, young man. Yeah, because I think a lot of people, it's
That
it's
shot his own.
it's funny because sometimes I think that like a lot of players don't understand and appreciate like all of the different things you have to do to get people to learn and to get through this stuff, especially when they start complaining about hand-holding and stuff like that.
Yeah.
However, then when I actually sit down and hear back from people on YouTube or whatever that are commenting on the videos, they, especially if they're well-versed gamers, then I do think that they understand all of that.
Yeah.
And they come up with some really interesting ways to go about teaching mechanics and stuff like that. I really like the sun in the background. That is very cool. The art style I think is cool. So you were saying the other day that there was an issue with the art style.
I don't know if there's an issue.
Not an issue,
so
but
much as like Some
does
of
it
the-
represent what
some of the
the game
original
is.
inspiration was like Advance Wars and Plants vs Zombies, which are approachable but fairly hardcore games. Like they're legitimate games. You think of them as a cool game, but over time, I think that art style has kind of been associated with mobile games with free-to-play business models. Maybe not. What do I want to say here? The business models are not associated with like, a deep game.
right?
So that sort of changed out from under us. Sometimes people have the misconception that, it's going to be a shallow game.
Right. We got that
No
with
strategy.
the art style of a virus named Tom because it had they were like, oh, what is this, a flash game or whatever, because it had like a punchy
Yeah.
kind of
yeah. I can see
art style.
And so we oftentimes have these YouTube reviews that are like, now the game looked like I wasn't gonna like it was gonna be a mobile game, but then I played it and it's actually awesome. Oh my god. So it didn't used to be that way though, folks. If you remember Advance Wars.
Oh, with the art style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You would have died if that enemy.
Don't think so. Don't think so.
Yeah, you would.
I'm totally
Yeah, you
fine.
would.
I'm totally
That would've
fine.
been it.
Everything's great.
That would've been it.
Everything's great. See,
You need to
we're
s-
happy.
You need
Everyone,
to step up your
everyone's fine.
game, Tim. You almost lost us all. Then we have to play it again.
Yeah.
Actually, so like at this point in the game is when you have
Right.
levels.
Yeah, and I didn't get enough actions per minute.
Yeah, and then so
My
you're
APM.
starting to have to perform
Right. Yeah.
since you know the basics of the game now.
Right. Actually, one thing that's really funny, at a certain point in the game, I thought, you guys, and you're going to tell me the answer to this. I thought, like like you guys sent my airship off into the clouds, like just to be like, hey, you can go anywhere now. But what it actually was, I think on my analog stick, it's like a little bit off, and so like it was just going like this. And what's interesting is that I learned from that you can loop around the edge of the screen.
Yeah.
Which is interesting that you guys added that.
Yeah.
I think it's cool because
It's
that means
something.
that it's easier to get from one area to the other, but like it just seems so arbitrary.
It is. It's just a ridiculous thing that we put in there.
Oh.
I think somebody on the forums was asking for that, so I was like, all right, sure. A loop.
They asked it to wrap around.
Yeah.
That is
Pretty
interesting.
sure it was somebody. I wanted to do a secret level on this map, where like you fly to somewhere that doesn't look like a level dot,
Right.
and then you can actually go in there and it's a secret level.
Right. I'm really upset that the clouds don't move based on where.
Yeah, I should-
Just kidding.
Do that.
Okay, so now what? What do we do?
Press E to get in the car.
Stronghold taken or Cannon Puzzle to two? Which one do you think is more
Which is
interesting?
more interesting? I don't know. They're both interesting.
Yeah,
If you want to get to the worship, though, you should do.
this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think of other things as I was playing the game.
Because we haven't even got to the building select yet.
Oh, right, where all of a sudden, and I thought that was cool. It was interesting when you unlock the buildings and then they shift over, so that at least like I'm seeing that. But that was a little bit confusing until it came up with the building select. And here's a question: why do you allow people to select the mines
Because
and the whatever the balloons?
there are alternatives to those.
Are there really?
There are banks that you can use. In
Oh,
places.
eventually.
Or fortified. Yeah, eventually there are.
Right.
alternatives.
Okay, but if somebody, so nobody ever didn't select that. And
Well,
just,
if you don't select it and you try to start the game, it'll be like, hey, you need to have something that will make you money.
right.
So
Okay.
we don't let you choose a impossible build. So here you get to learn how to use the demolishers.
So.
There's nowhere else you can build, and the only thing you can do is shoot demolishers.
Oh, okay.
And there's a little ramp there for them to walk
Go
on.
into
So
this room
you,
over here where the-
some people shoot the shield with the demolishers and then try shooting on the little ramp and then get it. You already know how they work those.
Right. So that's interesting because I didn't even realize that when I was playing. So these are already pre-built.
Yeah,
And
intentionally.
you
for you
can't
to-
place.
I mean,
Uh,
you could, but it's not obvious.
Right.
And it's to get you to understand how to use the demolishers.
Right. That's
And
interesting.
now you can expand and do the rest of the stuff.
Right. Now
and
that
then
we've gotten past that point.
Furthermore, the enemy headquarters is just covered in shields. So this is a little puzzly. If you try and use the cannon, it's not going to work. It'll take forever.
Right.
But the demolishers will clean it up real quick.
Right. Maybe I'll use one then. Or maybe, despite you, I will create a cannon and prove that it can be done.
I'm sure it can, but it takes forever.
You gotta get some ammo for that gun too.
It is kind of fun that you can actually, because I tend to have these little limp miss shots, and they work out really well
Yeah.
with this one.
The demolishers, you don't have to
Okay,
aim
so,
very well, but they're also a little unpredictable. in
You
where
wanna load the gun, so
Right.
press 1. And now try to hold shift and press
you got it.
2.
You're like, oh, lots of shields. Well, I'll just use demolishers.
Right,
Wow.
and that's cool because it teaches you that tactic.
And then this should also teach you that you can shoot demolishers, because the enemy's going to start shooting.
So now you're good to go.
Oh, right, that you can fire on them.
Also,
I did learn that simply because I guess I was just playing that way.
Yeah, you can just try it. Some people don't though. Some people need to be taught.
Winning. So we are at the 10-minute mark, and we haven't been looking at this.
Yeah.
Tim, you need to use your pilot.
And you know what?
Pilot.
Oh, the drill. So I do notice that when my pilot has a passive ability, you know, obviously I use it. But when it has an active ability, and the only one that I can think of, I guess the brother has the repair thing, which I never remember to use, and I
The
also
repair is passive.
Oh, okay. And then I never remember to use the drill.
Yeah, that's because you're at this tier of skill.
Right.
And then once all the things you're processing become more habit, then the next tier is even
Right.
pilot power.
Right. Okay. So We only got 9 minutes left. So why don't we talk a little bit about the things that you feel like went right as far as like a design thing, and things that you might not have gotten right. Things that you're really happy with, and things that
Things
you're
went
not
right.
happy with.
It's a fun game. It's interesting.
Right.
It plays unlike anything. I think we successfully meshed the two genres together.
I think so. Yeah.
The strategy is pretty deep and is supported. Like, we're really happy that it supported a really high level of play.
Right.
Like, there are people who have put hundreds of hours into the game and are way better than me and know, like, they balance the game now. I don't.
Right. So,
So-
do they just tell you like,
Yeah,
things and you tweak them?
On this map, using this strategy in this certain way with this thing, this is overpowered versus this, and here are the things that we can do to change it.
Right.
So
That's awesome.
That was awesome. Things that I'd like to change, and we're gonna try and change, is in Cannon Brawl, if you are better than your opponent, it's very likely you're gonna win no matter what.
Right.
Like it's chess.
Mm-hmm.
If you are better than your friend at chess,
Right.
you're probably gonna win.
And I know
every
people
time.
that feel differently about this, because some people, I think the poker and chess analogy is always, poker is an extreme, but I guess that makes sense, right? So you've got poker where anybody can win. In poker, really, anyone can win any hand,
Yeah.
but over a long period of time,
You'll
better
win-
players will
you'll
win,
win more games.
consistently. Whereas in chess, the better player should win every single time, as to a degree of better, right? Obviously, someone that's slightly worse could win in certain circumstances, but it's much more deterministic,
Yeah.
right? And so that's the levels that you have to pick around. And I think a lot of people like in between, because as a new player, they don't want to be so intimidated that they can't jump in and play a game against someone that's better than them.
Yeah, as a new player, like it's better for you if there is a way for you to be carried through a game some of the time if you're losing.
Right. Yeah. So it's always hard because
Or
you have
even as a like in League of Legends, I'm pretty good, but I get carried sometimes. Like I have a bad first
Game.
10 minutes,
Right.
and then we still win because the rest of my team did well, and like that's that kind of probability stuff. So even though I did bad, we won, and then in cases where we lose but I did really well, I don't feel bad about losing because I did really well.
right.
So Cannon Brawl doesn't have any of that. If you
So how are you
if
trying?
lose,
So
you just
how are you trying to do that?
So games solve this in a lot of ways. Like poker solves it with hidden information,
Right.
and uncertainty. Like you don't know what cards are going to come up. You don't know what your opponent has. Whereas with chess, it's perfect information.
Right.
League solves this with teams. Like my team can carry me, or I will get dragged down by my team.
Right.
And League also has hidden information with the Fog of War.
Right.
For Cannon Brawl, we're going to try a
Poker also is not only hidden information, but then also like randomness, right?
Yeah,
so like even not only in chess do you have a perfect information, but
It's the
it's
same
it's
every
almost
time.
symmetric,
Yeah.
and like everything's the same. Yeah.
So we're gonna try a comeback mechanic thing. I don't know where that falls into.
You know, so I always hear this from people, and this is like such a double-edged sword, because they want this, like, if I'm getting my ass beat, right, I want a way to throw a Hail Mary
Yeah, that's what
and
this is.
possibly get it. And then from the skill standpoint, you're like, oh, this is going to feel like a cheap loss. But if you do it right, it can work. If it's a low percentage thing and they have to have some amount of skill. The analogy I always like to use is, because I like hearts, so I always say hats and everybody gets confused, is shooting the moon, right? Where if you
Oh,
play
yeah.
so badly,
Yeah, shooting the moon.
you will screw everybody else over. However, shooting the moon is not an easy thing to do. And as
Yeah.
soon as people catch on that you're doing it, you
That's a
know,
good one.
as everybody else starts trying to prevent you from doing it, and I think it's this awesome Hail Mary mechanic.
Yeah.
So what is
Like-
going to be your shooting the moon?
So, well, I would say it's shooting the moon, but basically we're gonna have a little thing where if you are doing poorly and if the opponent is killing you, a little meter is gonna build up, and when it reaches the end, it will represent a state in the game where you are almost about to lose, and you can call in some special power that will kind of clear out the middle of the map of enemy buildings and give you another chance.
So every time you're playing, this can happen?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if we'll keep it. I don't know.
Right.
We'll probably have to
Because I
change
guess
it.
one of the fears,
Change a lot, but-
one of the fears is that it'll simply extend that match,
Yes,
and
so
then the
there-
person will still die.
There are many fears, and if any of them come true, we'll get rid of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We'll see what happens.
And then that'll be great in the smack top, right? It's like your ass whooping meter is almost full.
Yeah. So I tested it the other day with a friend.
Yeah.
And I used it and I still lost, but I didn't feel as bad
About the loss.
losing because I was able to inflict some damage.
Right. Yeah.
So it was successful there.
Okay.
We'll need more testing.
Cool. That's interesting. I think it would be really fun to do like some kind of roundtable on things like how you can make it so that how you can even the playing field without making it feel like just like you're, giving the other person this advantage or extending the game or anything like that. These are all really interesting things because,
Can I inject on
you
that?
may, Lexi.
So-
Lexi from off screen.
So there's a big change from StarCraft 1 to StarCraft 2, which I really don't like about StarCraft 2. And in StarCraft 1, you could only select 12 units at a time. So you had to make control groups, and moving around a big army of units was actually really hard to do because the pathfinder was pretty shitty if you had dragoons. And being limited to 12 units at a time meant that it was really hard to move mass armies around the map. So that mechanical limitation is actually a comeback mechanic. And what it means that is if you have a bigger army, it's harder to control that army, and because you can only select 12 at a time, you're spread out
Right.
the whole map, like you're not paying attention. And in StarCraft, especially in StarCraft 2, microing your units can give you a really large advantage over the other
Right.
person. So because you're limited to 12 units, it's a lot easier to micro a small army than it is a large army. So it meant that people with a smaller army could kind of get the tactical advantage over people with a large army
Right.
in that game. So that got completely removed in StarCraft 2 when they made it that you could select your whole army and just click the enemy base.
Oh, okay, so you're
And-
saying that's something you didn't like.
Yeah, I did not like
Because
that in
before
StarCraft 2.
there was this whole you can ramp up your economy, but at a certain point it's not just 500 is 5 times better than 100. There
That's right.
becomes this.
It
It's
had-
a lot like a team when you're developing a game or anything, right? It's not that everything scales perfectly for the mythical man. and
That
stuff
feels like
right?
an artificial limitation that resulted in a good thing, but
I don't. Well, it
Like,
wouldn't have been
it
that
seems
hard
like they-
to select more. Maybe the pathfinding would have been too expensive back in the day.
it seems like a weird.
to do 12
If you
at a time.
intentionally designed it that way, it seems a little weird.
Right. It would seem a little weird, but it's mechanically I think it really works in that game. And it's kind of like a game mechanic. You can only
Right.
issue so many commands at once, right? So it's you're telling 12 people to go do something.
Right.
The same way as a lot of games you can only tell one person at a time to go do something. So it's just they pick the number 12. Whether or not that was a technical limitation for the time, the Pathfinder could only calculate 12 paths at once. But I really a lot of people hate on the fact that you can only select 12, but from a game design point of view, I really liked how that promoted comebacks.
Right. It does
and-
seem like it's a balancing thing where it's not just simple, stupid, if I get more people, I'm going to win. I'm just going to crush you by that, right? There's some logistics involved in it, which is
Yeah.
really cool.
And if you look at pro games of StarCraft 1 compared to StarCraft 2, it's the things they do in StarCraft 1 is so impressive of managing Hydralisk and putting dark swarms down everywhere. It's really impressive, and someone with a small army of Hydralisk and Decrepifile, I don't know what they were called, but cast dark swarm. I think it was dark swarm. They could do some really interesting plays with a really small army compared to someone with a big army. They could a lot of the time win if they were being really good at microing and stuff. So
Right.
that was a really nice mechanic I liked about StarCraft 1. Even though it sounds stupid, it sounds like a stupid limitation, it had really big implications in the game.
So thanks for stopping by. Let us know. I'm probably going to post this to the YouTube channel eventually, and let us know if you guys think this is cool, because we can do more of these, because I'm in a space with a bunch of these brilliant people, and we could examine their games and stuff like that. I think it's kind of cool. But until next time, thanks for stopping by, guys, and I'll see you next week at this same bat time, same bat channel. Okay? Bye.